You're going to be watching a video about the magic pill, which is a one-sentence introduction that has very specific components, but is really good for timed writing situations. It's a formula, and so you'll be able to use it to pump out a really strong introduction in no time. I recommend that you get some notes to take on this because you will be using it again. The necessary components of the magic pill introduction are the title, author, and genre of the work, the theme of the work, the tone, strong verbs, using mini quotes, using dashes and literary devices in a triplet if possible. We're going to go over each one of those components I just said because there are specifics that you need to know and remember, and what time like the present to get those little lessons in. So, for the title. For short works, like essays or poems, you're going to have quotation marks around them, such as The Road Not Taken or The Company Man. The Road Not Taken is a poem. It's a short work, and so it gets the short lines around it. Notice that quotation marks are just short little lines, so they go with short little works. The Company Man is an essay. It's fairly short, and so it gets quotation marks. For longer works, such as books or plays, those get underlined if you're handwriting it, or italicized if you're typing it. The reason we use underlined in handwriting is because handwritten italics are kind of hard to see. So, for example, The Crucible, To Kill a Mockingbird, Beowulf, and Brave New World are all longer works that get underlined if you're handwriting them, or italicized if you're typing them. Short works get the short lines, the little quote marks, and long works get a long line underneath. That's how I remember it. Additionally, you'll need the author's name in your introduction. The first time you refer to an author, you need to give their whole name. Robert Louis Stevenson is this guy's first, middle, and last name. Arundhati Roy is her full first and last name. After that, you can call them by their last name. Please do not call Robert Louis Stevenson Robert or Louis Stevenson. No, it's just his last name, Stevenson. Same with Miss Roy. You'll call her Roy. Not Mr. Stevenson, not Mrs. Roy, just Stevenson and Roy. In your introduction, you'll also need to include the genre that a work falls into. This can be content-based, such as a gothic, a horror, a romance, mystery, fantasy, science fiction, comedy, epic, fairy tale, or tragedy, where the genre title depends on different elements that are actually in the content of the work. There's also types of work, plays, novels, poems, novellas, short stories, which are less specific than usually these in the left-hand column. For theme, just as a review, you need to include this introduction in the form of full sentences. These should be universal truths based on what the literature demonstrates. You should not have specifics about the story, no settings, no character names. For example, a theme for the Odyssey might be, despite challenges and unlikely odds, human nature prevails and never loses hope. That theme could just as easily work for many other stories as well, maybe for To Kill a Mockingbird, or Jane Eyre, or Poisonwood Bible, or something else that you've read. You also need to include a tone word. Tone words are adjectives, and they're the feelings inside of the story. Usually they're created by the way an author uses the language and by the actions of the characters themselves. Happy and sad are tone words that students often like to use, but you're smarter than that. You can do better than that. For happy alone, I just have listed a few here, and there are many more. Joyous, ecstatic, ebullient, buoyant, carefree, excited. Those are all words just for happy, and there are many, many more. For strong verbs, try to avoid is and are if you can. They're very lame. They don't have any meaning. All they are is an equal sign in your essay. You can use verbs like demonstrate, exemplify, express, embody, suggest, and many more, and I'll give you a tone word list and a strong verb list that you can practice with. For mini quotes, this shows your reader that you know about your work. It also kind of makes a personal connection. If your reader has read the work, they'll understand the quote that you're giving. When you read books, you should store up these mini quotes. These are just little thematic moments in the book, like the quotables, things that you take away from the book. For example, from To Kill a Mockingbird, we have climb inside of his skin, from when Atticus says to Scout, You know, if you want, you need to think about how it feels to climb inside of someone else's skin and be them. We have You Begin Anyway from the episode with Scout having to go and see with Jim to read every day to this old lady. And Atticus wants them to see that even if you know you're going to lose, you try anyway. You start anyway. And then finally, I've got to live with myself. Atticus says, before I can live with anyone else, I've got to live with myself. And these are all many quotations that lean towards the theme of triumphing over adversity. Dashes may be an unfamiliar punctuation mark to you. They look like this, right here, dashes. Dashes, you're going to pretend they're parentheses. If you take a set of parentheses out of a text, it does not change the meaning. Parentheses, just like with dashes, are extra information. The sentence still makes sense without them and all the text between them. So we start out with this sentence here. Despite Odysseus's determination to get home, his 10 years lost in the Mediterranean Sea should we teach him the importance of endurance. So what can we add in here about Odysseus so that I can demonstrate to you about dashes? So, despite Odysseus's determination to get home to Ithaca, where his wife and son awaited his return, his 10 years lost in the Mediterranean Sea teach him the importance of endurance. Now, I've inserted this comment about Ithaca, right? I've elaborated on the idea of home, saying to Ithaca, where his wife and son await his return. Here, I've inserted the dashes as if they were parentheses. It's extra information, and I didn't alter the outside sentence at all. The sentence outside of the dashes is still this first sentence. I've just added in some extra information. Here we have the triplet. English rhetoric likes groups of threes. 3 blind mice, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. For the Holy Trinity, we like threes. And so I have some lists here, sets of 3, through spirit, determination, and glory. You also have, those are all just single words, right? A list of 3 words. But you can also do little clauses. While the character was investigating himself, there's number 1, searching for a dream, there's number 2, and discovering new goals, there's number 3. Okay, we have 3 thematic sort of things that the character's doing in order to further the story. These can be major thematic ideas that you can carry down into your essay to keep you from summarizing. Finally, if possible, you should insert a literary device. You can use the triplet to work in literary devices, or you can insert devices like irony or characterization maybe elsewhere in the intro. So here's one, a triplet with the devices, using characterization, epic similes, and the diction of outer space. Okay, so we have 3, we have characterization, simile, and diction. We've worked them into a triplet. Or to work them in elsewhere, you could say Mary Shelley ironically uses the image of Narcissus. So here you've worked in not only allusion, but you've also brought in irony. You should never use the words theme or tone. Do not say, help us all, just save my soul, and do not say the theme is or the tone is. You're smarter than that. You can work them in different ways. Try to keep them as one sentence, but if it's too much to handle, break it down into 2 sentences. Now, it's going to look a little scary. This is the frame that I'll give to you. I'm going to stop the video here, and I'll make another video with the examples.